Thank you, Ben. Yes, so the government's released some guidance now on generative AI in education, which is guidance for colleges and universities as to how they can make the most of AI whilst also recognizing the risks and dangers that it poses, as well as that. So it's getting the balance right and using it for the good and not for the evil. So I mean, in the 90s, I was talking to somebody the other day, and in the 90s, they said they did their dissertation, their doctorate on AI, and you sort of think, did AI even exist back in the 90s? But it's been around, I suppose, in some form for a long time, but it's only recently that it's really starting to take off and actually become powerful and useful. And I mean, I suppose it starts off with the most it's about automation to start with, and for example, a door opening when you go to it, or a light coming on when there's motion, and then but that's just triggers that happen in response to something, and that's quite basic. And then you move on to the more advanced things like, for example, in the talking about the supermarkets, I was reading that said the other day self-scan tools are now going to be able to work out what vegetable you've actually got on them to weigh it. So it's not giving you a choice of 100 different vegetables to pick from. It's thinking, well, it's either this or that. So give you the option straight away. I think it also helps with sort of theft. I mean, that's not exactly AI, but it's just comparing the basic model with a much more complex model that's taking into account a lot more variables. So it's sort of contextualizing and making connections to work out the answers to things. So the AI is sort of building on, I suppose, what's gone before and making it better. And at what point does it really become AI? And I suppose that's at the point when it's sort of building its own pathways rather than you predefining the pathways as to how it should respond. And that's where obviously AI can become very useful because it's actually generating its own information rather than just responding in a pre-planned way. Going back to this document that's been published by the government, the some of the advantages around it are personalizing learning and finding the weaknesses in a student, the weaknesses in their knowledge and possibly experience in those areas, and then it could analyze the work they're doing to look at where the weaknesses are and suggest what improvements they could make. And that's the kind of thing that might take a long time for somebody to do that, for a human to do that. Whereas for an AI to do that, it can speed through the information, load it very quickly, and then analyze it, and then make suggestions. So that's how it can help the students. So it can help them sort of plan, structure their work, and make sure that every student's being I suppose every student's been differentiated and offered the best opportunities to ensure that they can learn, and they're guided towards being able to learn the best they can, rather than being just given the answers, which is not helping anybody. Because obviously, if they just kind of ask AI to write them an essay, and they don't do it themselves, then they're not learning anything. And when they are then employed in the field of healthcare, and they find that they're doing operations, and they find that they can't actually do it, I mean, it's not a way to be, and you can't proceed in that way. So the personalizing learning is a positive, and then for the teachers, that the advantages there are to help the teachers to sort of summarize worksheets, summarize information, and help them to structure their learning plans. And it can sort of look at all the stuff that is on a certain topic, if they give it some reliable sources, and then summarize that. And if they're experts in the field, they would know if that summary, they would know that summary was good. I mean, I wouldn't recommend you just rely on it without checking it. But again, it's going to save a lot of time in that sort of manual editing, copying and pasting, rewording, retyping, typing things out to summarize the document themselves. If they can get the AI to do it, and they just have to check it to make sure it's accurate, then that's obviously a helpful for them. And then making sure that So yeah, so that those I suppose those are the two or the main key advantages, and then the so dangers are the plagiarism from before versus the plagiarism now, because if a student is trying to cheat the system, what they used to do before was they would probably go on the internet and copy and paste some articles where they didn't actually fully understand what they were copying and pasting, and so it was usually fairly easy to detect because the writing style would be changing between the pieces of information that was copied and pasted. I mean, if, sometimes the font would change as well, and they'd end up with embedded hyperlinks that they hadn't taken out. So it and I mean, yes, the writing style would go from them writing in their style to a very highly academic, expert in the field writing, which is obviously not them. So you would then ask them about that topic and say, can you tell me more about that? And then it would become obvious that this had been all been copied. But now the modern plagiarism, where you take it from you ask an AI to write it for you, but AIs are always very sure of themselves, and this is often the problem when they're actually giving you, they actually do give you possibly false information, but they sound so sure about it that you almost tend to believe them. So it's again, it's written in a very, I suppose, knowledgeable and sure way. That all this information that's being given is completely accurate, and it's all being probably presented in a very academic fashion. You can actually ask AI to say, can you write this in the style of whatever, and then in the style of a non-academic, and then it might give something a bit closer. But I mean, the truth is, it is going to get harder to detect whether or not it's plagiarism, and you want to ensure that it is correctly identified. But I think it's as well as the AI being used by the students to possibly, well, for the good and for the evil. Um, the plagiarism tools are also going to be using AI, so you're going to be fighting AI with AI. So whilst the tools that can be used for cheating the system might be getting better, the tools for detecting cheating on the system are also equally getting better. So really, I don't think it's probably a cause for concern. That there might be more sort of impetus for the students to go, can I just ask AI to write me an essay? Which potentially they wouldn't have, well, they couldn't have asked it to do that before because it wouldn't have been able to. So it is that sort of thing of it's making sure that I think what's important really is that the government have put this guidance out so everyone starts to think about it because you all need to be aware of what's out there and what's possible, and the students will be using it no matter what. You can't, stop them from using it at home. You can't say you can never go on a chat GTP, GPT. So they're going to be using it. So really, if they're using it anyway, you need to understand AI to a certain extent, so you can use it as a tool for good and to help them to differentiate their learners, maybe save time as a teacher, and also to be aware of how students, yeah, it could be used to support students, but also the dangers. And I mean, one of the other sort of areas to think about is confidentiality of information and access to information. You may have maybe reports in your college where certain members of staff can access certain things and other members of staff can't. And if you've got an AI model that's hopefully there just with a little chat window saying, ask me anything, you start asking it questions and drilling into information, and it might be that it doesn't mean to disclose certain things, but for example, if you're in a very small data set, such as you're maybe trying to find out some information on a small department, then potentially, even if it doesn't tell you the name of the person, you could potentially get information that which you maybe wouldn't normally have access to, such as maybe information from the HR system. Um, and even if even sort of students' comments, if students have confidential comments which could be relating to, should really be only be accessed by student services because they are dealing with the issues with the student, they're helping them with issues in their personal life potentially, or they're aware of those issues so that they're able to support them within the college but better. But that's maybe quite private information that not everybody would normally get access to. But again, by asking the AI thing certain questions, if it's connected up to these sources of information, it could potentially give information away that it shouldn't be giving away. So I think what the colleges and universities need to do is to develop an AI task force, as is mentioned in this article, to bring together the key people, ideally from the academic side as well as the support side, and probably involving IT, MIS, potentially other departments such as HR, so that the college as an entity is starting to think about the what's out there, how we can make best use of AI, and then train staff because it is quite a new concept, and some people might almost shy away from AI, saying I don't want to do that, I don't need that, it's not relevant for my topic or what I teach. But I think AI could be used in a lot of things, and in design it could be used for modeling things. You can even ask Paint now, Microsoft Paint, to create you an image of anything, and it'll go off and create one. And I'm not saying you should use that and pretend it's your own work, but you could use it to inspire you. If you're looking for inspiration to your next project, or you could be using it maybe in woodwork and construction, where you're going, show me how that would look if it was like this, and then using that to because I mean every piece of work that we create is created based on previous people's work, and that's not plagiarism. That's just how we evolve. Everything that if you design a new car, if a new car can be designed as a new car, it's going to take aspects from other cars. Otherwise, you'd end up with a completely different type of thing that nobody can understand how to control. It's going to have a steering wheel indicator on the left there. It's going to have certain standard things which are taken from previous designs, and it's not like with it's plagiarism. I mean, it would be plagiarism if you copied the entire car, including all the exact engine specification. But there are certain things we build on the past, and I think train the staff just to so they're at least aware of some aspects of AI. They could then start to think if they want to introduce it. And I think the students are using this regardless, whether it's brought into the college or not. So it's better that everybody understands it, and then try and try and embrace it, because yeah, like I say, the students are using it anyway. It's a bit like when computers probably first came out, and people were maybe in English classes they were going, well, we're just writing. We don't need computers. We're not doing any mathematics. But obviously these days computers are used for in all subjects. So I think AI is going to be similar. It's just a tool to add to your tool belt, along with a lot of other tools. And knowledge is power, I suppose. So it's not saying that you have to use it for everything, because I think it's almost like everything. If there's some conference about something, they'll probably bring AI into it to make it sound exciting. It is a buzzword, and it is used a lot at the moment, but it is something that I think everyone needs a good understanding of, to a certain extent anyway, and especially in the education environment. So that's it for me for this. Thank you.